Hey YouTube, welcome back to UniXTCG. Now that Dragon Ball Super Fusion Mode has its manga booster set, I decided to do another tier list based on the testing that I've been doing with the homies pretty much since we got full reveals onward. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Make sure you go in the description and check out the stores I am affiliated with, like Hyper Beam Cards, in order to get your Dragon Ball fix, including the manga booster set. And yeah, let's get down into the tier list. Okay, so we got a lot to go over, but I think the first thing we gotta do here is talk about our tiers. So we've got a bunch of tiers here. We got code yellow, bear with me. That is just going to be pretty much the top of the format. I think the manga set gave an unbelievably easy to use, not really locked support for yellow as a whole. Like, there is a lot of support that is locked to, you know, Boo, Majin, Evil Wizard, stuff like that. But there's also just a very, very strong combo that pretty much gives yellow the biggest safety net in terms of the in the game, and I think that's going to really put them in a league of their own, because they'll be able to stabilize a lot easier and be a little more aggressive without running the risk of getting folded by certain things like a double strike off the top ropes. This is the ARIF, or the Anti-Yellow Rebel Federation, aka competitive. These are just the non-yellow decks that I think are just going to be up there, and some of the yellow decks too, because not all yellow decks are built equal. Then you've got needs more testing. These are ones where I will admit I have my thoughts on them, but I do think they need more testing in the format to see exactly where they're going to land, because there's a lot of cool stuff here, but you know, things will always kind of shift during the format. And there are a couple things where I actively am looking at and I'm like, need to see more. Now we're bringing back the remember you paid to be here tier, because it just needs to be brought back. Like, there are some decks here that, like, if you sleeve up and you go to a tournament with them, you know what you did. Then we have locals level, anything really come locals, but then lol what? Lol what will just be specific decks that, like, they used to be blue Daima Vegeta before he got the support. Like you gotta look at him and be like, bruh, be real. Okay, cool. So, first things first, let's start off with red. You got Starter Coup. Starter Coup is going to the, I mean, he can really just go on locals. Yes, he got some really cool little tidbits that he can do with the new U7 Frieza. That's pretty much that. He can draw a lot more cards, but he's not really doing anything special. And Red's card quality is not very great right now. Like, you do have some cool stuff going on with Cell. Daima's probably going to get supported next set, but right now, generic Red isn't really uplifting its previous decks right now. This is going to go pretty much right here as well. You've got the Goku. Yeah, that's pretty much that. He's doing almost the same things. He's just gonna be a little more aggressive. That's definitely locals level. With Beerus, I'm going to just be out here and I'm gonna put Beerus in lol what. A lot of people won't like this, but Beerus is a crit leader. Decks are getting more and more 10Ks now, so if they don't want to take the crit, it's gonna be pretty easy not to. Once he starts getting up there, his awaken effect isn't that great anymore. If your opponent doesn't attack you, and there are a lot more decks that make it easier to not ever attack Beerus, decks like Shallot, decks like Bulma, decks that, like, can, any yellow deck, because they have a gajillion cards to tap down your stuff, the Frieza, the Majin Buu, the Janemba, and once they tap down the stuff you play on the field, they can attack that instead of you. You start losing hand advantage until you get stabilized. It gets really bad. Crit leaders are kind of in a meh way right now, and I think that just kind of needs to be studied. Top Coup is sitting in the lol what, because, I mean, we all saw what happened. Top Coup got some of its best pieces gutted, and it hasn't really come back since. Jiren, though. Jiren is putting collectively most of red on his back right now. Jiren has a built-in defense versus green decks. Red's removal lines up very well with black cards, and then on top of that, his 25k bulk can lead him to be a little more resilient versus blue decks, which is his natural worst matchup. And yes, yellow has a lot more tools against him. They can keep things frozen, but they can remove, like, the 4-cost Jiren with a 5-cost Frieza. But in all actuality, if a deck is supposed to survive versus like just the current meta and it's red, it's probably going to be Jiren. Coming over here, you've got this Goku. I'm gonna put Daimaku over here, and remember you paid to be here, just because it's better Beerus, but Beerus is so far removed from the format. Like, you're playing kind of like a tempo based control here, and I just don't think that's going to cut it. We're gonna take this Goku and I'm gonna put him up here. I think he's going to be better than a lot of the stuff here, but a lot of the decks that are going to be good in this format are capable of building massive boards, and the wider the board gets, the harder it is for this UI Goku to keep control of the game. They can only use their leader effect once, and if you end up awakening him too early and then continuing to make your board wide until they drop the secret rare Goku, which can be removed by quite a few things, he's not really pushing that much weight. So Daimaku, I'm putting him on the remember you paid to be here tier, mainly because if you run into a bunch of green decks and maybe a couple yellow decks that aren't SSB Vegeta, this Daimaku actually can have a pretty solid run. The Shin card allows you to super wide and you're able to put on a lot of pressure, but I still think a lot of blue decks will be able to go band for band with him. Every time you play two bodies, they can play a card on curve that removes those two bodies, in some cases actually spawning a body of their own, and that's actually just detrimental and you'll probably fold under the weight. But I do think that he is pretty cool to have here. Android 18. This is going to be weird. I'm going to put Android 18 in the remember you paid to be here tier. She has a lot of plays, do not get me wrong. And with the field card, if you choose to play it, which I think now is almost unavoidable, you do have the ability to attack into a lot of cool barrier threats, like the new Bobbity that came out, which is single-handedly making yellow have the best defense in the game. But realistically, I do think that this leader hasn't really cropped up in events right now because this leader isn't very effective. And even running the field card, that's a whole gap turn. There's no card to cheat it out. So you're kind of looking at a really weird space here, okay? And then, yeah, that's just really kind of it. Like, I think that that's, like, not really too much to say about that. Now, with Cell, I will say right now, I do think I need a little more testing with him. He's got some great removal, but leaders that flip over and have a conditional draw always run the risk of being caught lacking. I think there are some trap cards in his archetype for sure, like the one-drop Cell on the Cell Chain, while the rest of the Cell Chain is cool. He does kind of have two sets of support because he can cannibalize most of Android 18's cards, but I do want to see how the format pans out. The unfortunate part is normally minusing is how you would get around yellow, but yellow is starting to just make this ginormous field of barrier cards. So that's kind of rough. Now, the other thing though is that Cell can also, I believe, use the field card Bleak Future. Let me check this. I do believe Cell is able to use Bleak Future because I think it's just red Android, if I am not mistaken. We're going to look at that right now. And yes, with Bleak Future, provided that you can use this, just going to look at this real quick, you'd be able to, again, get at lots of the barriers cards. But again, how do we feel about taking 3 energy to do nothing? Oh no, he can't use Bleak Future. Yeah, that's so weird. I was tripping. Either way though, that's not good. So Cell is there. Yeah, I was definitely tripping about that. That's my bad. But Cell needs more testing because you definitely have the ability to minus a bunch of the board, and provided if they don't get enough barrier threats on board, Cell is walking through a lot, and he's got some really powerful pushes that are going to push most non-yellow Vegeta decks over the edge in terms of how hard he's hitting. Like, this Cell leader can swing for 40k and 50k more times than not, and that's actually going to be really great once he's up and running, but needs more testing because the format may not allow him, like, even a turn or 2 turns of not being able to proc your leader ability to get a draw is going to be felt in this mid to late game versus these decks. Going into blue is at this weird space right now where you need to be able to do what you need to do. Like, Peel Off Gone did not kill blue. It just showed you the difference between a deck that was coasting off of blue's card value and decks that actually had legs on their own regardless. So going into this, you have Vegeta. I'm just gonna put Vegeta in remember you paid to be here. Blue still has quite a few good cards, but I just don't think that blue is out here. Like, actually, you know what? Vegeta actually just locals. I'm just gonna straight down the locals. He's a very solid leader, but he's simply not doing enough. Trunks, I'm gonna put him at the top of remember you paid to be here. he does lose a lot not being able to bounce Pilaf, but he still can actually play the Satan City package and go pretty well because he's going to be bouncing a lot of the cards that you'd want to abuse. So in some cases, he actually may be just as, you know what, actually, this is going to sound really weird, y'all, but this guy can probably be close to the bottom of competitive because he really is just like bootleg in some specific cases. I think he's actually just Satan City leader, except yeah, he does differently. He doesn't get rid of the fact that Pilaf is gone, but he does allow you to bounce your Videls back and play them out the following turn, and that's actually really, really good considering that that's what we're using Final Hopes for. Goku Black, I'm going to put here in the Remember You Pay to Be Here tier. He's going to be doing a lot, but some of his best cards need to swing multiple times. So he'll get a Goku Black off once, and he'll get frozen. If the deck is kind of passive, he has to find all of his Self-Awakening. I do think that this leader can have some huge plays, but Goku Black has to pop off to do anything. Zamasu, this one's very strange. I do want to put him in Remember to You Pay to Be Here tier. He legitimately is going to get folded versus all the green decks we have right now, pretty much. On top of that, like, blue can't manhandle with removal yellow the same way it used to because yellow just keeps getting more and more barrier threats. So there's some good games that Zamasu can have, but especially against like yellow Vegeta, you're just going to go to time and chances are their life will be higher than yours. Going over here, we have Goku. Now this is going to be very strange. I'm not going to say these are fully interchangeable, but there are some times in testing where Trunks feels like a better Satan City leader than Goku. And it really just is like, it really does feel that way. Because Goku is Otherworld and the Satan City package is Satan City, they're not leader locked. None of them are leader locked. They just require Satan City cards on the top of your deck and stuff like that. So Trunks, in a lot of cases, can bounce the Pilaf that, or not the Pilaf, in lieu of Pilaf, he can bounce certain cards that you want to protect and use next turn, like Sharpener, like Arasa. He can, play out all these things and then just tag the card you need for your starter back to your hand before people can get at them with minuses and destruction effects and tapping it and swinging on it. So he actually gets to use a lot of the Satan City cards a lot better. And this guy is going to sit at the top of your deck, but if your deck is one, like, at this point, because Pilaf is banned, for the most part, it's just your super combos and Final Hopes. Maybe some absolutes that you might have in. So Trunks actually, you don't need the stack as much as you used to. Girls with short hair still out here running rampant. Yeah, Girls with short hair is still here. There's a lot of cards that could still stack the top of your deck. So really, both of these are kind of just here for me. Daima Vegeta, we're putting you right over here. This card, bar seeing barrier card after barrier card after barrier card, this card is actually just OD. Like, this leader is OD. He was going to be a good blue leader regardless of whether Pilaf came in. So I just think that he's actually just pretty strong. He still removes everything against most of the other decks in the game. You won't be able to create a board against him because he's just so good at removing cards left and right. So he really is going to be here. Gohan, Lawlet, favorite character and one of my favorite forms in the entire series, but unfortunately they built him like crap. And yeah, that's pretty much that. They built him like crap. I'm gonna put Vegito in, needs a little more testing because Vegito has been coming out with some spicy aggro builds, and I do think that a deck that can get past yellow right now is a deck that can apply a lot of pressure at the beginning but then curve out some heavy hitters. And blue is a deck that is full of heavy hitters but has the ability to, in some decks, make a very aggressive curve. I don't really think he's going to actually make a splash though. He does still have the classic blue problems versus green. He just has a little more offense. So maybe we just put him at the top of Remember You Paid to Be Here, but I think he can be pretty spicy. I'm gonna put blue Goku over here in competitive. I have been having a blast with this deck. I do think that you have the kind of issue with removal. This deck can play like an aggro deck. This deck can put body after body on field, and he has an excellent inherent coverage for level 1s, level 2s, and you can either, or we'll call it 1 cost and 1, yeah, I'm jumping between Gundam and freaking Dragon Ball. He has excellent coverage for 1 cost and 2 cost removal, and then you have to kind of build your deck for 3s, 4s, 5s, and higher, and that's the kind of thing that kind of holds me back, because, you know, you might have, like, some Jiren cards that are 4 and 5, this guy would have to tech to get rid of. But he is destroying the board setups of fellow blue decks. He is playing body after body after body. You've got some really cool card advantage combos, and once you get his engine going, you're staying around 12, 13 cards in hand unless your opponent really has that dog in him. So I think that he's actually up here in competitive, very good. Blue's still just a strong color in general. We are going to put Broly over here. He's cool. He's just not, like, he's gonna be able to play. You can definitely play. I mean, to be honest, I'll put him over here. You can play Broly to good effect. Just understand that you could have also played a couple other green leaders to better effect. Gohan is literally Broly if he could draw more on his backside and if he didn't have the 5k, which means he's more susceptible to all these things going sideways soon. Androids, still competitive. They still are a deck that can do some crazy things. They did not get touched. There are some decks that could probably stick it to them a little faster, and that's the kind of a scary part. Like, a lot of decks are going to have to be able to turn on the aggression sooner than later in order to not have just the just to not be at a point where yellow can just stabilize and look at them funny. But yeah, when it comes to this cell, he can't get on as fast as androids, and you do have to stop charging after a certain point if you want to keep your leader effect going. I am going to put him in Remember You Paid to Be here. He still can make moves. I still think he's a decent deck, but he's just not androids. Piccolo. This is going to be sad, because Piccolo should be in competitive. However, with yellow being able to curve out into turn 2 Barrier Bobbity and turn 3 Boo, they can potentially put those on the board, and your first leader swing will never in the entirety of the game reach that person. It's over. It's literally over. Like, if they put Barrier Boo on the field after playing Barrier Bobbity, they can hold that Boo every time your leader swing happens, and you'll never touch their life, meaning your leader will only swing and draw, essentially becoming a vanilla. And you can't do anything to it because Barrier is an effect. So Piccolo is a very strong deck. Is Piccolo going to survive in this very yellow tilted meta? No. If you see any other decks, any mid-range to late game deck, Piccolo should be able to destroy unless it is yellow with the correct tech in play. But Piccolo does kind of suffer some aggro decks. I think that when you fight Piccolo, faster mid-ranges can get under it. There's a couple decks here, Daima Goku and Kid Ku will never really lose to Piccolo. You just move too fast. It's just kind of stuff like that. Speaking of moving too fast, we're going to put this here. I want to put it at the top of needs more testing, mainly because I know what this deck could do before the manga set, and if it had a high roll, it could actually put out a fair amount of pressure. All it got from the manga set was straight gas, like straight valid cards. So realistically, I would put this actually in competitive. I personally want to test it more, but all it got was buffs. It did not, like, it was a deck that was on the fringe of being a valid pick for your top tier tournaments. And all it got was gas from the set. So I'm gonna put that up here. Nameku is kind of in rogue. It is like decent, but like now you're also just kind of at the sense that it also falls prey to the fact that if your opponent is playing yellow and they have the correct tech in, they will never get double struck unless they want to. Or they just are craptacular with drawing good cards, because that's just kind of a thing. Barrier Bobbity and a Barrier Boo really just cuts off the late game potential of double strikes, and that's kind of rough. Broly's going right up in here into competitive. I do think that Broly being able to be faster is going to be great. Blue can sometimes have a problem with some of these yellow decks not producing enough bodies to get around the barrier blocker boo that Bobbity makes it, having their things frozen down, and then a lot of their cards, their setup cards, are going to be in final explosion range. So I think that a lot of blue decks kind of have an issue versus that. And when it comes to Broly starts off as early as turn 4, hitting with some massive bangers. He has board wipes, he has heals, and there's going to be a lot of decks that get overpowered by this Broly. And I think that that's actually kind of where it's at. When it comes to this, I'm gonna move these down a little bit. I definitely think they're good, but I'm just gonna put them down in competitive, like at the bottom of competitive. I still think Halo Coup can ball, but there's exciting reasons to do this. These guys just didn't get worse, really. He didn't really get too worse. He did lose Peel Off, which hurt, but he can still play. And Trunks, like I said, kind of overtakes that with a couple like key factors, but then he doesn't set up the deck as well. So I'm just moving those. Sorry for the tangent. But Broly BR, high key, he can get on the ground so fast, and he puts up some bodies that are hard for a lot of decks to remove. And even against yellow, while Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta may actually have a pretty even, if not favorable, matchup with this guy because of Hell Rakshasa and things like that, at the same time, Boo decks actually can get really hurt by this guy if he gets going and they don't see like SR Boos or they don't see enough of their stuff to lock down. He can get really, really hurt. Alright, Giblet. Giblet to me is either at the bottom of here. I think he is in competitive. He can be very aggro, but so far in testing, Giblet, you can stabilize on Giblet fairly well. A lot of decks stabilize on Giblet, and then they're just kind of like, Now granted, when you look at other stuff, he can tear through Jiren, but he will ramp them. He will ramp them if you get through a 4 cost. He can really put pressure on some of these leaders that want to make it to a later game period, like Vegeta. But once Vegeta gets to like 4 energy, 5 energy, and is awakened, you can start really removing the board as fast as they can play it, so it becomes like a might versus might type thing. I think that he aggro's easier than Vegeta, but I think Vegeta has a better top end. I think like Vegeta's slightly slower than Giblet, but once Vegeta gets to the top of its game, I think it's just hitting harder than Giblet. You should be able to get under androids. You should be able to fight Broly fairly well. But yeah, I think Giblet is up here in competitive. I just think that he still has some hiccups that can be ironed out. Okay, now that it's going to come over to this, Frieza, I'm just going to put in remember you paid to be here. He's a decent deck, and he benefits from yellow cards. That's literally it. In fact, I'm going to just keep it a buck. A lot of cards actually do that. Aggro or hyper aggressive aggro can actually hurt a lot of yellow decks. So I'm actually going to put Ginyu and needs more testing, because Ginyu can still actually run certain cards. Like when we go over to just the Bobbity, right? I'm looking at this just so I can read it off to you guys while I'm going over it. But this Bobbity right here just says that whenever it wants to load, end of turn, choose one battle card with Majin or Wicked Soul and the special traits in your battle area. Switch this card to active mode. So really, the Boos can use this card pretty well. But I know for a fact that Majin or Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta doesn't have to pivot too hard to use that as well. So with that being said, you actually do have a lot of yellow being able to use these cards. I do think that aggro going super wide is the easiest way to get around the blocker, and this deck can do a lot of roughness to green as a whole, to blue at this point. It can hurt against black as well. Like, I know nobody's gonna be playing Ginyu, but if you actually sleeve up Ginyu and put it into a lot of the format right now, you get some funny things. That being said, I think that you have to go ban for ban with some of these aggro decks, and like Giblet will play Broly and start ruining your field. Vegeta has a fair amount of ways to interact with your field. Kid Goku will literally tear your field apart. So at the end of the day, we will put it back down and remember you paid to be here. Cooler is a locals deck right now. SSB Vegeta is the first deck going in code yellow. This deck is a menace. As you guys all know, protecting Barrier Frieza is a valid way to play through your game. As you guys also know, Results of Training allowed this deck to be so much harder to gas out. But now that you have the curve of Babidi into Boo, you now can have a barrier blocker every single turn. So between this card, auto sending back any 30k swing with Results, sending back 40k swings with Hell Rakshasa, sending back like 50k swings with Hell Rakshasa and a 10k, but now having a barrier blocker so you can't even double strike it to death. No, this deck has become a destructive engine of defense, and they will just wear you out. They will literally grind you into dust, and if they ever find the sneaky shot with the double strike, there's a lot of cards they have in their arsenal that are going to be able to add on attack. Results can be used on attack and defense. Hell Rakshasa can be used on attack and defense. There's a lot of good cards for that. Blue Power Awakening can be used on attack or defense. So their shotguns can get like stupidly high. I'm gonna put Boo up here. Boo needs more testing from me, this Babidi into Fat Boo, but he gained nothing but support. And from a local at my locals, I already know, shout out to the Almighty Joe, that this deck had plays. It's had plays this entire time. It just wasn't quite outstripping Majin Buu. And because of this, you now have the ability with this new support to play even harder, playing out searchers at the end of your turn to go in, playing out more cards. The Bibbidi Bobbidi again, or sorry, the Bibbidi Boo again, preventing you from getting double struck from game. And yeah, you have more barrier threats you can put up here. This deck is actively going to be good. It's just gonna depend on how many people want to play it over his arguably cooler forms that we're gonna get to soon. Evil Boo, I am putting up right here. Evil Boo literally just got more tools. You lost Babidi, but now with the 1-drop Frieza that you were able to use in a Majin form, you're going to have more outlets to pop and untap your leader as well as your Boo. You have more outlets to do this all throughout the game. That's a 10k card. You're gonna run 4 of those, as you did Frieza. You have the ability to stall your opponent by playing Janimbas or Friezas or Majin Buu Evils to tap things they play and swing into those instead. You still have Yellow's ability to freeze things. You have the new card that taps down opposing energy. There's a lot that you're able to do with Boo, and this card was already one of the best cards in the, or best decks in the format, and it just got straight up support, like straight up support. Janemba, I'm gonna put Janemba up here in competitive. Janemba has to build a certain way to be able to utilize, like, if you're trying to play the Babidi Boo combo, you just need to make sure you have enough cards to do it, which is tight. But at the same time, Janemba, if you're gonna play enough cards to make that relevant and you're not SSB Vegeta, at that point, I would say, why are you not just playing one of the Boos? Yellow is a very strong color right now, and I think that Janemba can definitely beat a lot of these decks, especially with the fact that Janemba can flood the field. However, I do think that Janemba is the weaker of some of these the yellow decks. When it comes to Vegeta, right? I'm gonna put Vegeta in the Remember You Paid to Be Here. The reason why I'm gonna put him here is because there's a lot of stuff that doesn't exactly work with him the way it works with other yellow decks. Other yellow decks have the ability to stay back and be very passive until they can smell blood in the water, or be passive and grind you out the entire game like SSB Vegeta. This SS3 Vegeta, he's a very aggressive yellow deck, and he has to run a bunch of DA stuff, limiting the size of the other techs you can put in, the tech packages you can put in. So I don't really see him just getting all the support that came out to yellow in the manga set and incorporating it with his stuff. I could be wrong, but on top of that, when you look at a lot of these decks in the top like field, right, in the right here, what you have here are decks that can add more value to their hand, like get more cards in hand than him, and then out combos 30ks. You have natural 30k bodies like Jiren, and unless you get a Frieza SCR on the board, Jiren can stack up its 4-drops. You have decks like Broly, which completely get under this. Like, they literally beat you to the punch on the aggro, and you have to make your deck really weird teched in order to not get hammered by it. Androids should be able to go wider and taller than you. I believe Vegeta and Giblet can out aggro you. Haloku and Trunks could also try to out aggro you, but yeah, there's a lot of things that don't quite work for this leader, and I want him to be better, but I have to just be real about it. Goma. I'm putting him at the top of lol what, and it's not because I think he is worse than all of these, right? It's more because of the fact that they built him so rigid. I love Goma. I love playing the deck, but like he has one game plan, and that game plan is use Goma's strategy. Like that bro has like when you build the deck, you've got 2 cards worth of tech space almost. Like you don't really have any room to put other effects, other defense, other utility. It's just like, do you have space to use Goma's cards? Okay. Did they stop what Goma was trying to do? Okay, yeah, you're screwed. GG's. And that I kind of feel is rough. Now when it comes to Boo, this guy isn't under or over Evil Boo. I think he's just different. These decks will play a lot of the same cards, this Kid Boo from the manga set. The only difference is, whereas Evil Boo is going to have a more aggressive, like just kind of like deck, or with more aggressive tendencies, and he can sometimes untap an energy or himself, Kid Boo just has built-in lock. But built-in lock is very crazy, because built-in lock allows you to, it literally allows you to, what is the word I'm looking at? Built-in lock for me allows you to have so much more deck space. You might not need to run the fierce hyper beams. You might not need to run the energy absorptions. You might still run the Goku's. He's a 10k and a body, and he freezes too. But it allows you to have a lot more space, and the fact that it's going to literally just allow you to freeze for playing the game. Play a 4-drop Kid Boo. Play a 4-drop any, like literally just for playing the game, this card rewards you, and it's going to help you keep your opponent's board down while it's still got the Majin trait, allowing itself to be quite the card. So this is kind of rough in terms of the fact that like these 2 decks are, I think, about to be OD. These 3 decks, all 4 of these decks are about to be OD. Now going on to black, we can just put black and remember he paid to be here. Black has the ability to play Gogeta, and until they tap it and hit it with Blue Power Awakening, Gogeta puts a stop to a lot of the things going on here. But Gogeta doesn't stop you necessarily from getting killed by Boo. And Gogeta can be destroyed very easily by Vegeta SSB, because they have enough space to be able to run 2 to 3 copies of Blue Power Awakening if they fear the card enough, and just tap your Gogeta and then pop it. So there's a lot of weird things. Also, when it comes to black as a whole, a lot of black used to be able to sit behind Trunks, and this booster pack gave a Majin Buu that just rests at 2 costs or less, and then when he attacks, you get to blow it up. So Trunks is kind of just dead in the water. SS3 Gogeta we're gonna put as, or SS4 Goku we're gonna put here as locals. He's cool. That's about it though. Yeah. We're gonna put Baby. Baby probably goes to the bottom competitive. A good Rildo Baby can actually beat most of this spread, just because they've got resilience and a lot of pressure. I don't even know if this guy sits at the bottom of competitive. I think he's just actually still just a great leader. It's just that black isn't the best color right now, but yeah, Baby's a good leader. Gogeta, we're gonna put Gogeta over here in LOL what again? He had a split second beginning of set 3. We thought that maybe he was going to be like very good because of his access to the energy marker all the time. You have ultimate sparkings, being able to get around Broly. You have 10 times Kamehameha being able to be abused against Halo Q. But now Halo Q may not be the most played deck. And if you find Broly, you find Broly, but you're more likely to find yellow at this point. My bad for the creek. You're more likely to find yellow at this point, and that's going to be a massive problem. Demon King Piccolo is definitely lol what. I don't know what they were thinking when they released this. The artwork is so swagged on him, but just nah. For Shallot, I'm gonna put needs more testing. I personally love Shallot. I was gonna just try to pick up my Shallot deck and show y'all, but I love Shallot. I think Shallot's really cool. And somewhere on my desk right now, with like the infinite decks I have, there we go. With the infinite decks I have, I do have Shallot just like ready to go. Like, I'm not playing. Like I love Shallot. Like alt art leader, gold marker. I love Shallot, but I do think Shallot is currently kind of in this weird space where Trunks keeps his board from being torn apart. Yellow can get rid of Trunks easily. Red can get rid of Trunks stupendously easily. Green can get rid of Trunks easily. Blue can get rid of Trunks easily. So can black. Every color has an out to that card on curve pretty much. On top of that, when it comes to 6-drops, if you go up against red will blow up those 30Ks extremely easily. When it comes to blue, I think blue has to have a harder time, but a lot of people in blue started running absolute because of other things, or at least the Beerus. So there's a lot of cards that kind of get under that. And then yellow can just straight up freeze them. And if you've played Shallot, you know how annoying it is when you have 5 bodies on board, and for all intents and purposes, you should be on your road to winning. But like 3 or 4 of them are locked down, and you know they're about to like recycle some Hyper, play another Goku, all this stuff. And it gets worse with Kid Buu, because Kid Buu will add on another lock effect to himself. So that just gets kind of rough. And then when it comes to Bulma, I hate to say it, she's got a lot of promise, but I think that Bulma does go over Remembered You Paid to Be Here. I think Bulma has a lot of cool combos, but the fact that she doesn't draw, and Roshi and Krillin are very, very, very much so crucial to seeing some early game advantage. If you don't land those on curve, like if you don't Roshi on turn 2 and Krillin on turn 3, your hand is going to dwindle pretty badly. And yes, she's got some explosive power when it comes to her 3 life turn kill. Like you can play Chi-Chi and Yamcha, swing with the Yamcha, combo the Chi-Chi, do all these things. She's got a lot of that, but a lot of these games I've been seeing, her hand is so low by the time you get to a chance where you could actually like end somebody for game, that it's not even worth it. Like your hand is so low that if your opponent has 2 super combos in hand, they're probably just getting out of your attacks and then cracking you back the next turn because you just try to go in. So this is kind of that. This is my tier list. I do think that this format is going to be a yellow dominated format. I think they just have the strongest kit. Like they have a bunch of good cards. They're the only color that has Barrier, and Frieza and is a great card. Bobbity is a wonderful card. Boo is making resurgence because of Bobbity. And I think that right now, the ability they have to wall themselves out from 1 attack per turn they don't need to take just by dropping 1 is crazy. And the ability that if they fear the double strike, they can just keep up the blocker and force you to play around it. And because of the locking and the destruction they do have in their system, they're going to be able to make it so that you never really have more than 2, maybe at most 3 turns or 3 attacks a turn. And that's going to be something they can deal with. So that is my tier list for the manga set. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let me know if you guys agree, if you disagree. Gave all my reasoning. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Alrighty then, so in the comments, let me know what you guys think about my tier list and my explanations. I want some conversations in here. I want to know why you agree or why you don't agree, and I'll do my best to respond to them all in time. So, with that out of the way, thank you guys for watching as per usual. Like the video if you liked the content. Subscribe if you want to see more Dragon Ball Super Fusion World content, as well as Gundam card game content in the future. And I will see you guys next time. Last but not least, a special shout out to my Patreon members, my Denizens of Universe X, my Galactic Patrols, my Universal or Extracrats, as well as my realm of Xers. That's my highest tier, so thank you guys. The Big Daddy Flapjacks, Beer R's, Brother Bears, Bryce R's, Christopher V's, and Dallas S's of the world. Appreciate you guys, and I'll see all of you guys later.